Over the course of the last few days, I've noticed in the gaming news and commentary world that there's been some outrage over speculation that the Cyberpunk 2077 sequel is going woke. I'm gonna say what I need to say and get back to business, because this is taking my time away from other videos I want to create, and not gonna lie, that has me pretty heated. If you think Cyberpunk 2077 being woke by present-day Western standards is a problem, you have critically missed the point of the entire genre. It's flown right over your head and you're mad about nothing. We got some big quotes we're gonna look at today that are making people lose their minds. First up, we got a quote from CDPR Quest director Pavel Sasko. He talks a little bit about the presentation of social issues in Cyberpunk. He says, "I see that we didn't push the envelope far enough in some places. Like, let's say the homeless crisis. When I look at it, I'm like, we weren't far enough in Cyberpunk 2077. We thought that we were dystopian, but we just touched the surface." Then we have Dan Hernberg, the executive producer for Project Orion. He says, "I think the really cool thing about Cyberpunk and the dystopian future that it has is there's so much relevance to today, of mega corporations, of people on the fringes, of people just being exploited resources, of the wealth gap, of all these things. I think that 2077 allows us to tell these stories in ways where, at the heart of it, there's always relationships and people, but we're in a really broken world, and that we can call out some of these things. I think for me, that's what Cyberpunk is about, exploring those themes, but in a very poignant way. I love the world, and I think that's what we're going to try to do with Project Orion. Really continue to lean into that and continue to say, what is the state of the world today, and what does it look like in a couple years? If you understand the concept of Cyberpunk as a genre, they're both 100% right. What exactly about that is woke? I want you to pause the video, hit me with a comment right now and explain it to me, then come back and class will be in session, so I want your phones down and I want your eyes on the board. Get read up on the lore of Cyberpunk 2077, 2020, Cyberpunk Red, Cyberpunk anything. Night City is not supposed to be your shining, perfect future fantasy world. It's supposed to be a dystopian shithole overflowing with poverty, pollution, violence, corporate exploitation, inequality, and death. The entire Cyberpunk genre, since its inception, has been reflecting these themes. Read William Gibson, Neuromancer. Read Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Watch Blade Runner. Hell, the Akira manga came out in 1982. Judge Dredd was introduced in 1977. Cyberpunk 2077 came out in 2020, but Cyberpunk as a genre is anything but new. You need to get with the program here. There's a lot of core themes prevalent in the works of this genre, the art, the literature, the films, the games, and all of them are directly related to the dystopian umbrella Sasko and Hernberg were talking about. Themes like AI, identity and reality, isolation and alienation, cybercrime and hacking, nuclear proliferation, urban decay, environmental exploitation, and moral ambiguity. We're gonna highlight just 3 of what I think are the biggest ones, and the ones most relevant to Sasko and Hernberg's quotes. Cyberpunk 101, baby, let's go! Alright, first up, we're gonna look at the most pervasive of the 3. That's the concept of high-tech, low-life. The first thing a cyberpunk dystopia needs is the juxtaposition of advanced technology and low standards of living. The world is technologically advanced, but societal conditions are often low. Night City, for example, it's drenched in neon lights, skyscrapers, flying vehicles, hollow communication. You can summon your vehicle with a touch of a button. You can conduct voice and video calls in your head. You can insert digital storage media into your neck and view it inside of your own eyes. But all of this is just a colorful sheen on a depraved, sick underworld. For food, you gotta eat SCOP, that's single-cell organic proteins, instead of real food for your nutrition, because real food is nowhere to be found, because the groundwater is permanently wrecked by nuclear war. You can get brutally killed at any time for any reason, or even worse if the scavs get a hold of you. Now in real life, we have self-driving taxis and passenger vehicles. Uber has automated taxis operating right now in Phoenix, Miami, LA, Tokyo, and more. If you've got a Tesla, it can drive itself across your whole country with you in it. We have jobs that can be sustainably carried out with AI, which can perfectly replicate images and even people's voices. We have Amazon delivery drones set to roll out in Italy and the UK this year, designed to pick up inventory from a distribution center and get it to a buyer in 30 minutes or less. They're already operating in Lockford, California and College Station, Texas. It's Johnny Silverhand's hometown, by the way. Lots of hotels are already starting to roboticize room service, and I can't even remember the last time I made a fast food order with a human employee. And in case you haven't noticed, we carry these things around in our pockets all day. We can pull them out and immediately access the entire collective knowledge of humankind up to this point in human history. We can do that on demand from anywhere that has cell service. These things even have cameras on them that are way better than the best cameras on the market 10 years ago, and we can use them to communicate with just about anyone we want. But still, even with all that stuff, according to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, there's been about 450,000 victims of human trafficking and 300,000 offenders worldwide since 2003. And that's just the numbers they know about. Interpol reports that politically motivated terrorism has increased 50-fold in North American, European, and Asia-Pacific member countries. Financial fraud, victim manipulation, and impersonation scams are increasing significantly. Ransomware, phishing, online scams, and hacking are frequently perceived as high or very high threats among member nations globally. Interpol also asserts that demands for smuggling services are likely to increase after accounting for geopolitical instability, climate change, and the post-pandemic recession. Los Angeles, California can be considered the gang capital of America. The LAPD estimates that 450 active gangs with a combined membership of more than 45,000 are in the city, and that's just one major metropolitan area. Then we could take a look at the Line in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you've heard of this one before, the supposed revolution in urban living. It aims to have 9 million people living in the same structure with a world-class quality of life and everything they need within a 5-minute walk. Yeah, right. Does anything about this stuff seem just a little familiar? Next on our list is the theme of corporate control. Mega corporations in Cyberpunk 2077 wield ridiculous power. Oftentimes it's more power than the world governments have, and they control way more of your little life than you might realize. Arasaka and Militech in Cyberpunk 2077, for example, we all know that they directly drive the whole world's economy, and I don't really have to explain much else about it. Just take a look around Night City and choke on all these ads getting shoved in your face non-stop. You know, on the flip side, these huge conglomerates like BlackRock and Microsoft, just to name a few examples, they control really huge pieces of our real world. Now imagine you work at Walmart. You've been busting your ass there for maybe 5-10 years. You've watched all these employees come and go. You've been steadily moving up the ladder. You just got promoted to department manager. So you get done with your shift, you walk outside, you light a smoke, and then you get shot to death. Now your family's gonna be sad forever, but your corporate daddy's gonna have you replaced with some other guy by the end of the week. You're an item. You're an object. You are a number on a piece of paper. You spent 9 to 10 hours a day stocking shelves for people who don't even know what love is. They own mansions and drive luxury vehicles. And you're dead. Nike, Apple, H&M, Philip Morris, Hyundai, Tyson Foods, Tesla, Microsoft, and hundreds of other companies still use child labor to this day in their supply chains. In 2022, the U.S. Department of Labor found that 835 U.S. companies were employing about 3,800 children in violation of labor laws. That's a 26% increase from 2021. Amazon workers that get too sad on the job because they're not allowed to use the bathroom and they're getting injured all the time, well, that's no problem. They can get in the despair closet. They can have a little privacy in there where their souls get sucked out. And I'm only going to gloss over the surface of the darkest one here because there's just way too much to talk about. But whether you like it or not, lots of what U.S. Congress does is directly influenced by corporate lobbyists. They spend the big bucks to manipulate the law in their favor. Anytime something gets banned, just take a moment to think about who benefits from that and you'll get it really quick. You ever wonder why we can't develop cars that run on water? Big oil. You ever wonder why we can't cure diseases like cancer? It's Big Pharma. They want to railroad society into consuming only their products. The list goes on and on and on. You still think Sasko and Hernberg were on some woke agenda with these quotes? Sure seems to me like they're sticking to the source material. Alright, after this mess, we gotta take a look at transhumanism. Now, transhumanism is the integration of human beings with technology. Most of the time, this is going to show up like cybernetic enhancements or body modification. Now, non-experimental mainstream cybernetic limbs, they're pretty far off in modern times, I think, but we might be a little bit closer than you think with body-integrated cashless pay and the way that Elon Musk talks about installing chips in your head. I don't know. In Cyberpunk 2077, we see cybernetic limbs, enhancements across the board covering everything from combat to cosmetics. Got ocular implants to enhance people's eyesight, skin replacements, skeletal implants, and even full body conversions are just a fraction of what's available. Some people get so chromed out they barely look like a human anymore. Now here's where we're going to relate it to real life. I just recently watched a video here on this platform where a guy was all bent out of shape over some specific advertisement in the game world. that shows veiled genitalia. This guy was losing his mind over CDPR giving a cameo in Phantom Liberty to a trans social media personality. You might know her, the Sphere Hunter. Buddy, this is Cyberpunk. You've totally lost the plot. Cyberpunk 2077 has an entire gang comprised of sex workers that have modified their bodies to be better sex workers and defend themselves better. We got an entire subclass of sex workers called dolls. They can change their appearances on the fly. They can modify their personality traits and their voices with behavioral implants to please clients. There's even very prevalent sexual cyberware enhancements, Mr. Stud and the Midnight Lady. Sex in this game is not like it is in real life 2024. In this universe, it's a transaction. It is not the same. Regarding the trans influencer in the game, people in the Cyberpunk universe can modify themselves in ways far, far beyond the confines of gender. You, as the player, you can either augment or fully replace your brain's frontal cortex, your arms, your whole face, your whole voice, your skeleton, your hands, your nervous system, your circulatory system, your integumentary system, and your legs. In the Cyberpunk tabletop RPG lore, there's an entire subculture of people that body sculpt. They give themselves things like muzzles, whiskers, animal ears, manes, eyes, tails, hooves, claws, paws, scales, fur. In fact, there's an entire gang in the game, the Animals. They were initially planned in development to utilize this concept more in the game. One of the hugest corporations in the lore, Biotechnica, they provide the bioexotics line for people who want to do stuff like this. Point being, somebody changing their gender in the year 2077 in an era of this degree of radical individualism, it's really not that shocking of a concept. If there's content like this in the game world, especially if it isn't your taste as a person who lives in 2024, it doesn't mean it's woke. In fact, there's another term for it, and it's a pretty good term. We would call that on brand. Now let's tie these three themes directly back to what Dan Hernberg said in his quote. What is the state of the world today, and what does it look like in a couple of years? Well, what do you think the state of the world is today? What does it look like in a couple of years? Are you scared? Was anything we talked about today significantly woke, in your opinion? Did you feel any socio-political agendas getting forced on you? Let me know. Sounds to me like we got a team working on this game that just wants to be as faithful as possible to the source material. I don't know, is that woke? Either way, you best start believing in cyberpunk dystopias, buddy, cause you're in one. Thanks for coming by today. I'm sorry that went on way longer than I expected, but now that we've got it out of the way, I can get to rocking on more videos. Take this as a friendly reminder to think before you speak, and don't let modern day socio-political shit foul up your mind. Just enjoy the games you want to enjoy, and as always, do your best to stay preem.